Scorpio, have you ever stopped to think that maybe this person didn't enter your life by chance, but you never wanted to face the real reason? The version you tell yourself is always simpler than the truth. Coincidence, luck, wrong choice, bad timing. But what if, in fact, each person who came close to you, especially those who deeply affected you, came to fulfill a precise, almost surgical role in your transformation? Scorpio feels this before any other sign, this invisible call, this attraction that has no logical explanation, only weight. In this video, I'm going to show you the hidden mechanics behind each significant encounter in your life, the real reason why certain people enter your life exactly when they do, and what this reveals about who you are becoming. By the end, something you felt but never managed to name will finally make sense. And here's what nobody told you. People don't come into your life to complete you, they come to reveal you. Every person who crossed your path, especially those who deeply affected you, those who hurt you, those who illuminated something you didn't want to see, came to do a specific job, to bring to light something that was buried, an old belief, a fear kept behind 7 doors, a strength you didn't even know you had. Scorpio experiences this in a way that other signs don't even realize exists, because you don't make superficial friendships or fleeting loves without reason. Everything for you is symbolic. Everything is a process. Perhaps this person came into your life just when you were shutting yourself off from the world, or right after a loss that no one saw you cry over, or just when you had silently decided that you weren't going to allow yourself to feel so much anymore. And yet, they appeared, as if something somewhere knew exactly when to knock on your door. And there's something that perhaps no one has told you. You recognized this person before you truly met them. Not by their face, not by their name, but by a feeling in your body, a strange tightness, a silent certainty that something important was waiting to happen there. Scorpio doesn't trust easy first impressions, but trusts this kind of signal, even without understanding where it comes from. It's almost like recognizing the smell of an old house in a place you've never been before. Some people will tell you that this is just a statistical coincidence in a city full of people. But there's a difference between meeting someone and being touched by someone, and you know what I'm talking about. Some people pass by and disappear without a trace, and some people change the inner temperature of everything you are. Perhaps the hardest thing to accept isn't why this person came into your life, but what it forced you to see about yourself. Because usually, when someone shakes you so deeply, it's not just an encounter, it's a mirror. And no mirror appears by accident in the life of someone who most fears and most needs to truly look at themselves. The question that lingers, the one you avoid asking because you're afraid of the answer, is this: what did this person come to show you about yourself that you didn't yet have the courage to say? See, it was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book. It's called The Divine Path, that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, and it doesn't talk about loose predictions or pretty phrases for the end of a feed. It talks about what really matters to those born under the sign of depth, understanding the why behind each encounter, each farewell, each person who crossed your path, leaving something imprinted. For a Scorpio, staying on the surface has never been enough. You need to go down, understand the root, see the mechanism behind what you feel. And that's exactly what this material delivers. Not easy answers, but the right questions, organized in a way that finally makes sense for your sign. I know that right now, as you listen to this, something inside you is already stirring up memories. Names, faces, farewells that still hurt, encounters you never quite knew how to explain. This discomfort you feel now isn't for nothing. It's your instinct showing you that there's something there waiting to be understood. And this kind of clarity doesn't come on its own later. It comes when you decide to pursue it now, while the feeling is still alive. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And in the meantime, tell me in the comments, who was the person who most forced you to look inward, even against your will? There's a pattern that repeats itself in the life of almost every Scorpio, and most have never stopped to name it. You don't connect with just anyone. There's an invisible filter, almost a radar, that recognizes who carries real depth and who is just passing through, offering small talk. Superficial people simply slip away, they don't stick, they don't leave a mark. But when someone arrives carrying a pain similar to yours, or a secret that resonates with what you hide, something inside you lights up a red light and says, "Pay attention to this one." Imagine a metal detector walking across the sand of a crowded beach. It doesn't react to bodies, clothes, or umbrellas. It only beeps when it finds another metal, something of the same nature as itself. That's how your emotional radar works. You can be surrounded by people all the time and feel nothing until someone with the right frequency, the right intensity, passes by and the alarm goes off inside you before reason even understands why. But that same radar that brings you closer to the right people is also what brought you close to the person who hurt you the most. Because intensity isn't synonymous with kindness. Sometimes what resonates with you isn't love. It's wound upon wound, emptiness upon emptiness. And if that's how it was during one of the most important times in your life, perhaps it's time to ask, what exactly was that radar picking up in that person you still haven't been able to name? That alarm that goes off inside you when you recognize someone on your frequency. It doesn't miss its target, but you might misread it. And it's precisely in this blind spot that the book, The Divine Path, that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, becomes such a necessary tool for Scorpios. It teaches you to differentiate between the calling that heals and the calling that repeats the pain, something no one has taught you before, because most astrology content stops at the surface, and you know you deserve more depth than that. The last copies are selling out fast because more and more people of your sign are tired of repeating the same cycle without understanding why. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a word that defines half of Scorpio's emotional life, and almost no one uses it correctly. Protection. You don't close yourselves off because you don't feel. You close yourselves off precisely because you feel too much, too soon, too deeply, and at some point in life that cost you dearly. A betrayal, an abandonment. Once you opened yourself completely, and the other person used that against you. After that, a part of you learned the oldest rule of your sign. Show little, observe everything, decide later. Imagine a medieval fortress, one of those with a single, heavily guarded, difficult-to-open entrance gate. It's not like that because of the architect's whim. It's like that because there have been invasions, there have been sieges, there have been fires inside. The fortress has learned through the skin of its stones that opening the gate to just anyone is inviting its own destruction. So it builds higher walls, observes from afar, tests before trusting. And it is precisely this fortress that this person somehow managed to penetrate. Not by force, not by haste, but because something within them resonated with what was hidden inside. The unsettling question that remains is, did they cross the gate because they truly deserved to enter, or because you were too tired of keeping watch alone? There's a huge difference between opening the gate to someone who deserves it and letting your guard down simply because exhaustion won. And few people can see that difference on their own, especially in the midst of their own story. The book, The Divine Path, that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, was designed to help you precisely with this, providing a structured look at your own patterns of protection and openness, something essential for those who carry the intensity of Scorpio every day. It's not about distrusting everyone, it's about recognizing who is truly worthy of your depth. This material has limited availability and may be taken down at any time. The link is in the first pinned comment. Here's the paradox that bothers Scorpios the most. You fear abandonment, but sometimes you're the ones who push people away first. Not out of malice. It's an emotional strategy, even if unconscious. If I end it first, the pain is less. If I walk away first, I control the ending. If I test until it breaks, at least I know the truth. But this mechanism, created to protect, often destroys exactly what was real. Imagine someone holding a thin glass, so afraid it will fall and break, that they squeeze their hand so hard that it ends up shattering the glass. The threat you so feared, you yourself ended up provoking, only in a slower, more disguised, almost unrecognizable way. Could it be that the person who came into your life left because they weren't truly meant to stay? Or because you tested them so much, demanded so much, protected yourself so much that what could have been real couldn't withstand your own fear of loss? Recognizing that sometimes we ourselves push away what we most want to keep is one of the most difficult and liberating moments in a Scorpio's emotional life. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac, Sign to a Life of Purpose, offers direct reflections on this self-protection mechanism that turns into self-sabotage, helping you identify, in your own behavior, where care ends and fear disguised as control begins. It's a resource designed for those who are tired of repeating the same emotional script and finally want to understand their own inner workings. Available copies are running out quickly among Scorpios who have already begun this internal transformation. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. What if I told you that every significant person who has passed through your life, even those who left, even those who hurt you, left a version of yourself that didn't exist before? I'm not talking about generic overcoming. I'm talking about real transformation, the kind that changes the chemistry of who you are. Scorpio is the only sign of the zodiac directly linked to the idea of symbolic death and rebirth. And this is not a coincidence or mystical decoration. It's its most literal nature. Imagine a forest after a fire. From the outside, it looks like total destruction, ashes, black earth, nothing alive in sight. But it is precisely the extreme heat of the fire that breaks certain resistant seeds, seeds that would never open under normal conditions, and that only germinate after passing through the flames. Fire is not just loss. For some species, it is the only way to be born. Each person who entered your life and burned something within you may also have been, without you realizing it at the time, the exact warmth your next version needed to finally break through its shell and germinate. The question remains, what was born within you after that fire that you may still be calling a loss? There's a silent theory that every Scorpio carries, even without reading anything about astrology or spirituality. The idea that some people already existed in their lives before they even met in this form. I'm not talking about reincarnation as a ready-made discourse. I'm talking about that strange and undeniable feeling of having lived that before, of already knowing that way of looking, that specific silence, that way of hurting. You've felt it. Maybe you didn't name it, but you felt it. Imagine a puzzle piece that's been kept in a box for years, separate from the others, waiting. When it finally finds its perfect fit, it's not like discovering something new. It's like recognizing something that was always destined to be completed there. The click isn't about novelty, it's about a return. And that's exactly how it feels when that specific person appears in your life, even if you come from completely different places, with completely different stories. But recognition is no guarantee of a happy ending. Some pieces fit together to form a beautiful picture. Others fit together only to show where the whole was. And perhaps the bravest question you can ask yourself now is, did this person come to complete a picture, or did they come only to show you, very clearly, exactly where you were still broken? Scorpio has an unfair reputation for being difficult to understand, but the truth is simpler and more painful than that. You learned very early on that showing everything at once is dangerous. So you created layers, a lighter, easier version that the world sees first, and a deeper, guarded version that only appears to those who truly pass the silent tests that you don't even know you're applying. Imagine a door with several locks, each requiring a different key, and no key is handed to you on a silver platter. Those who come into your life usually only see the first door. Few have the patience, or luck, or enough intensity to keep trying the subsequent locks. And when someone finally reaches the last room, the one you've never shown anyone else, it means something. It means that this person somehow deciphered a code that most didn't even realize existed. But here's the painful part. Sometimes you hand the last key to someone who never asked to go so deep inside. Sometimes you open the last room out of exhaustion, loneliness, a desire to finally not have to watch over anything alone anymore. And when that happens, the question that lingers is, did that person deserve the key, or were you simply too exhausted from guarding so many closed doors? There's a moment, usually after the dust settles, when every Scorpio looks back and sees the pattern, not the other person's pattern, their own. Because as much as it hurts to admit, several of the people who entered their lives and deeply affected them had something in common, a similar way of treating them, a similar wound they touched without even knowing it existed. And that's not repeated bad luck. That's a pattern calling attention to itself, knocking on the same door in different ways until you finally open it and look. Imagine a song that plays at different volumes, on different instruments, in different arrangements, but always carries the same underlying melody. You might not recognize it right away, because the clothes are different, the name is different, the city has changed. But if you pay attention to the structure, to the note that always repeats, you'll realize it's the same song that's been playing forever, waiting for you to finally decipher the lyrics. And perhaps that's the real reason why this person came into your life, not to be the exception, not to be just another repetition, but to finally be loud enough, clear enough, painful enough, so that you would stop dancing in the dark and ask, for the first time for real, without hiding behind ready-made excuses, why does this keep happening to me, and what exactly do I still need to learn from it? Perhaps you'll never be able to explain in exact words why that person entered your life at the moment they did. Perhaps there will never be a clean, closed answer, with a perfectly organized beginning, middle, and end. And that's okay. Because Scorpio wasn't born to live with easy certainties, it was born to traverse the darkness and return carrying some truth that no one else has dared to seek so deeply. Every encounter that marked you, good or painful, was part of a silent process of transforming you into a more whole person. Not despite the pain, but through it. That is the strange and profound beauty of your sign. You transform ashes into roots, and roots into flowers that no one expected to see sprouting there. And perhaps that's exactly why no one who crosses your path leaves the same way they came in. You don't have the gift of making things easy. You have the rarer and more valuable gift of making things real, of tearing off masks without violence, simply by existing with such intensity that superficiality simply cannot stand nearby. That scares some people, and that's exactly what makes others never be able to forget you. So the next time you feel that tightness in your chest when you remember someone who passed through your life, perhaps the right question isn't why that person came into it. Perhaps the right question is, what have you become after they left? And it is in that quiet personal answer that lies the depth that makes you who you are.